Number 10. The world's smallest mammal. The world's smallest mammal is a tiny mouse-like animal called a bumblebee bat. These bats are only about the size of a bumblebee, hence their name, and they can weigh as little as 2 grams. To put that into perspective, a bumblebee weighs around 3 grams. They're found in Thailand and Myanmar, where they live in caves and eat insects. The discovery of the bumblebee bat was actually quite recent, even though it's been around for a long time. It was only discovered by Western scientists in 1974. Before that, people had seen them, but they just thought they were some kind of insect. If you see one of these, make sure you take a good look because you might be the first person to ever witness this amazing creature. No. 9. Electric eels. Electric eels are not technically eels, but rather a type of knife fish. But everyone calls them electric eels, so we're gonna go with that. These strange-looking fish can grow up to 8 feet long and 40 pounds heavy. That's around the same length as a surfboard and the same weight as an American alligator. What makes electric eels so special is their ability to generate electricity. They have special cells in their body that allow them to do this, and they can produce a shock of up to 600 volts. That's enough to knock out a human. They use their electric powers for hunting, stunning their prey before eating it, and they also use it for defense, shocking any predators that come too close. Number 8. Ancient Greek and Roman statues were actually brilliantly colored. Most people think that ancient Greek and Roman statues were just bare marble or stone, but new research suggests that they were actually brilliantly colored, painted in shades of red, blue, green, and yellow. Scientists used to believe that the statues were left unpainted, because the ancient people didn't have any pigments, but now they think that the reason for the plain statues is actually because of the way that we display them today. When you put a statue in a museum, you usually put it in a room with white walls and no other colors. This makes the statue look like it was unpainted, even though it may have been colored originally. In fact, archaeologists have found traces of paint on many ancient statues, proving that they were once brightly colored. So the next time you see a statue of Zeus or Aphrodite, remember that they were probably rocking a killer tan. Number 7. The dildo was invented 15,000 years before the wheel. The dildo has a long and rich history dating back thousands of years. Some of the earliest evidence of the dildo comes from prehistoric Europe, where archaeologists have found carved wooden dildos in France, Germany, and Spain. These dildos date back as far as 15,000 years ago, which is 2,000 years before the wheel was invented. It's believed that the dildo was invented independently in different parts of the world, as early humans realized that they could use simple tools to enhance their sexual pleasure. The invention of the dildo is a testament to the ingenuity of early humans and their willingness to experiment with new technologies. Number 6. Ancient Thebes once had a gay king. Yes, that's right. One of the kings of ancient Thebes was gay. His name was Gyges, and he ruled over the city-state of Thebes in the 8th century BC. According to the ancient Greek historian Xenophon, Gyges had a male lover named Thersimedes. Now you might be thinking, big deal, this is hardly news. But in ancient Greece, homosexuality was not exactly celebrated. In fact, it was often seen as a threat to the social order. The ancient Greeks believed that the purpose of sex was to produce children, and anything that interfered with that was considered unnatural. Despite the social stigma, Gyges and Thersimedes were together for many years, and they even had a son. Tragically, Thersimedes was killed in battle, but Gyges was able to find love again with a man named Leo. Even though he was gay, Gyges was still able to live a full and happy life. He died peacefully in his old age, leaving behind a legacy as one of the most beloved kings of Thebes. No. 5. A man survived being struck by lightning twice in the same day. In 1994, a man named Roy Cleveland Sullivan was struck by lightning twice in the same day. And if that wasn't impressive enough, it happened in the same place. Sullivan was hiking in the George Washington National Forest when he was struck by lightning for the first time. He survived the initial strike, but was then hit by another bolt of lightning as he tried to get away from the first strike. Incredibly, Sullivan survived both strikes and only suffered minor injuries. He was taken to the hospital, but was released a few days later. Sullivan's story made headlines around the world, and he was interviewed by various media outlets. He joked that he was considering changing his name to Lucky because he felt like he had used up all his bad luck for a lifetime. Sullivan's case is extremely rare, but it's not impossible to be struck by lightning more than once. In fact, there have been a few other cases of people being struck multiple times and surviving. 4. Ancient Rome was 8 times more densely populated than modern New York. At its peak in the 2nd century AD, ancient Rome was one of the most densely populated cities in the world. Historians estimate that the city had a population of around 1 million people, which would make it around 8 times more densely populated than modern New York. There are several factors that contributed to Rome's large population. One was its status as the capital of the Roman Empire. As the center of the empire, Rome was home to a large number of government officials, military personnel, and merchants. Another factor was Rome's relative wealth. The Roman Empire was one of the wealthiest civilizations in history, and its wealth helped to support a large population. Finally, Rome was a relatively safe city. Although there were occasional outbreaks of violence, Rome was generally a safe place to live, especially when compared to other cities of the time period. This safety allowed people to live and raise their families in Rome without fear of being attacked. No. 3. People used to pay for pizza by the slice. These days you'd be hard-pressed to find a pizza place that doesn't sell its pies by the whole pie. But did you know that people used to pay for pizza by the slice? In the old days, pizza was sold by the slice. In order to make it more affordable for poor people, this practice was common in Naples, Italy, where pizza was invented. Slices of pizza were sold for a few cents apiece, making it a cheap meal for those who couldn't afford an entire pie. This practice eventually spread to other parts of Italy, and even to the United States, when Italian immigrants brought it over. However, as pizza became more popular and more expensive ingredients were used, the price per slice went up. Eventually, it became more cost-effective for businesses to just sell pizzas by the whole pie. Still, some places in New York and New Jersey will sell you a slice of pizza if you ask. Number 2. Alexander the Great's father was killed by his own half-brother. As you may know, Alexander the Great was one of the most successful and influential military leaders in history. He conquered much of the known world, and his empire stretched from Greece to India. But what you may not know is that his father was killed by his own half-brother. You see, Alexander's father was King Philip II of Macedon. Philip was a strong ruler, who helped to transform the small kingdom of Macedon into a major power in Greece. He also founded the famous Macedonian army, which would later be led by Alexander the Great. However, Philip's reign was cut short when he was assassinated by his own half-brother. Ptolemy was jealous of Philip's power and influence, so he conspired with several other nobles to kill him. They lured Philip to a banquet and then stabbed him to death. Alexander the Great was only 20 years old when his father was killed, but he quickly took control of the situation. He avenged his father's death by defeating Ptolemy and his allies in battle. He then went on to conquer the Persian Empire, Egypt, and much of India. No one. Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian. Even though Cleopatra is synonymous with Egypt, she wasn't actually Egyptian. She was Macedonian, just like Alexander the Great. Cleopatra's ancestors were Greek and Macedonian, not Egyptian. Her mother was the sister of Cleopatra II, who was the last active pharaoh of ancient Egypt. While Cleopatra was born in Egypt, she was of Greek descent. Furthermore, she was not an Egyptian princess, but rather a member of the Ptolemaic dynasty. The Ptolemaic dynasty was a Greek dynasty that ruled over Egypt. After the death of Alexander the Great, Cleopatra was the last ruler of this dynasty and the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. So even though Cleopatra is often associated with Egypt, she was not Egyptian by blood or culture. Alright, comment below which facts surprised you the most. Be sure to subscribe for more fun facts, and we'll catch you next time.